with no storage space of any description, and you've got
that's what they needed
400
it for.
rolls of toilet paper.
And that's where the zombie actually comes from, because it's non-human anymore. It is dead, so it's okay if you kill it.
What are we in control of? We're not in control of the sun burning out.
Did you get your breakfast this morning, Garvin?
Oh, for God's sake, I don't even know what day of the week it is. Did I get breakfast? I don't get a normal breakfast anymore because of my exercise. So it's a liquid something from my daughter. Oh, no, she made me a fantastic breakfast this morning. There you go. My brain cells are going, I got nothing. Went straight to the negative space. I can only remember water. But she actually made me sourdough bread toasted with... some green stuff on it. I don't know what that. Avocado, sorry. And a fried egg. It was absolutely fabulous. So there you go. Short memory. Forgot about it immediately. Given that about something that was actually very, very good. So there you go.
And so you weren't panicked about it or anything like that?
I wasn't. Well, I was panicked about my memory of last night. And I sent you a little video going, I was researching for this program today. I says, I better watch some Ancient Aliens or something to help me on the research side. And it was just coming up to a spot about Orson Welles' War of the Worlds, and a feckin' UFO flew by my window. And I was going, no, I must be hallucinating. I jumped up, I got my phone, I got it onto camera mode or video mode. I was on portrait, George gave out about me. By the time I'd looked out the window, the thing had half gone. I caught about 20 seconds of it, and the thing about it is I was already in panic mode because I was going, it's not a plane, it's not a plane, it's not a helicopter, it's too near. But it's too far based on the size to be a drone, in my understanding. When I zoomed in afterwards with my camera, it was a circular, shiny silver object that was going at speed and went and headed off. I was going, you couldn't write this stuff. Now, watch our video and you'll actually see it. We're going to put it up there and it's going to show 14 seconds
we'll
of
actually
it.
Play it over. Yeah, we'll actually play it over the top of us actually talking there. So that'll actually
even better.
Be quite
but
good.
as it was synchronicity. It was the fact of going, I went to panic mode. Is this the end of the world? And then I thought to myself, what the hell would aliens be doing in County Kilkenny, Thomastown, at 11:30 at night? Have they feck all better to do than do a flyby of my house? So
I think they're looking for folks to do experiments on. I know that October the 31st, Halloween, we'd been driving down from Belfast to home down in Uri. And as we went past the little towns as we were going down the motorway, we could see these little objects. And we thought, well, they must be Chinese lanterns. But they were spaced out almost exactly the same distance, one from the other. And when I got home, I went out to the log cabin to try and do something. And as I looked up, directly in front of me, didn't seem to be that far, there was this big object in the sky, just a circular thing, just sitting there. There's no noise, no nothing. And I thought, I'm going to sit here and just watch it for a few moments. Do I go and try and get a camera or what should I do? And then the next thing, it just slipped off, up into the sky and away.
The question actually might be, were they putting us back as opposed to just doing a flyby? Have we lost any time recently? Now, we know we've done a podcast on time. I lose time all the time.
Yeah,
but
we already know this from the beginning of the actual program, that you lost some time this morning because you couldn't remember that your daughter had made you that breakfast.
So, I mean, now, when I'm in bed at the best of times, we know there's about 7 hours in there that we don't know what the hell's going on. You wake up, someone could have come in, took us away, put us back. The dogs wouldn't even bother barking, for God's sake, So it's maybe I thought I was watching the program. Maybe I missed 10 minutes of it. Maybe they brought me to a far-flung place and far in the galaxy, done a little bit of probing of God knows what, where and when, and then brought me back because he's fecking next to you, says there's nothing in there of any interest. We'll go find someone more interesting. And then I catch the tail end of a silver shiny object heading off into the deep blue yonder, and I do a little bit of a panic and think of Orson Welles' War of the Worlds, and then back to bed and worry about it another day.
Well, it's interesting because the Orson Welles thing back in 1938, it set up a massive panic because most people, when they went to listen to that show, were listening to 4 minutes of their favourite singer who happened to just start to sing a song that nobody liked. So they all switched over and thought they got this nice piece of music being played by an orchestra. And then all of a sudden it turned into a news report of these aliens invading. And they all started to go, oh my God, oh my God. And it started to get really intense as people started to disappear on the show, that they all started to panic, jump into the cars and race off. So they didn't get to the halfway point where Orson Welles started to talk.
Now, where were they going?
Half.
I want to know. You're getting in. I look out the window, see a shiny object. I think War of the Worlds, probably Tom Cruise, not the old one, so it's the blood, guts and gore. It's not actually just a recent one on the moment that has, I think it's Boston Scientific robotic dog running around. I go, you're not impressing me. I can kick it over myself. That's not going to catch me anytime soon and kill me. So very disappointed with the particular BBC or War of the Worlds there. Back to Tom Cruise. Yeah, I'm frightened of machines that pick me up and chuck me in the back and turn me into goo, and they're using me for petrol for their particular non-carbon emission friendly UFO. But it's, where are people going? You're already in a house. I'm in the middle of the country. I'm getting in the car and driving down the road. I don't know. Where are they going? Where are people heading? Are they heading up to their bunker somewhere in the middle of a forest that they dug and prepared? I made one earlier type of thing. You know, is it these doomsday people that have the 2 years of food supply in a hole somewhere and armed to the teeth?
Well, forget about the food. What about the toilet paper? I mean, if you haven't got enough toilet paper, and when we had this epidemic, everybody ran out of toilet paper. I mean, for goodness sake, what are you going to do if you can't get your toilet paper?
Well, as I said, you're back to the maths. And most people were living in high rises, and they're living in, 600 square foot of an apartment, with no storage space of any description. And you've got
that's
400 rolls of toilet paper, and you can't fit you in there. Never mind if you put this toilet paper into the toilet. Where's it going? It's going to...
But if they're 400 feet up in one of those high-rise towers, now it makes sense that they were stitching together their toilet paper to make parachutes.
No, the reason for the toilet paper is excuse the French. You're going, that's the whole point. You're going to be shitting yourself because this is not actually. I'm not talking pandemic. I'm more talking. I'm back to UFO again. You need to get the toilet paper for the UFO bunch because you're going to need it. You're going to be worrying. You're going to be your innards are gone. And now, in terms of the pandemic, you've done a bit of shopping in the local supermarket. You're going, I don't know why we need this amount of toilet paper. It's an odd one. But is this the global catastrophe go-to checklist is the question.
Well, the other thing is that it could be that if they're by a nice big sort of mountain, that what they're doing is using the toilet paper to send messages. When they roll them out and actually spell words, that the only thing you can actually see is these messages from above where the UFOs actually
I'm
are.
more concerned as a single ply or triple ply. I don't really care about the messages. It's my derriere. Is it soft enough on it? Have I gone for the premium brand? Am I going for wood chip central? If I'm going to go, I want to feel as if I'm going and I'm not cutting the backside off myself in the process. So if I've bought 300 or 400 of them, it's triple ply, double folded, and enameled and embossed, and it's gold leaf if at all possible.
Well, it's more than likely going to be the triple ply because at least that won't, when it absorbs the moisture of the ground, it won't actually disappear.
It won't be absorbing the moisture of the ground. Yeah, it's going to be absorbing a whole other, excuse the French, moisture of another. We won't even go there. Look, let's get back to global catastrophes.
But
the global catastrophe is you've run out of triple ply before the event. That's the problems we're thinking at the moment. Never mind arming yourself. It's triple ply. And a little sort of like one of those little dogs on the side of it. What's the brand now? I'll probably come up with the brand shortly.
It's the puppy dog.
It's the puppy dog running around with the trail. Andrex. He's got one of them wrapped around his back paw, and he's running down the street, and there's about 40 people chasing him because whatever they want it for, I don't know. But we're wasting too much time on Andrex triple ply for global catastrophe.
Unless it's not a puppy, but it's an alien. That could be it. It's an alien running away.
This is it. There's many a type of global catastrophe, and we're touching on from pandemic to alien encounter, and I'm more of the I'm looking forward to the alien encounter because this is the weird thing. If they're already here, they're friendly. because if they're on the way, we're Independence Day. We're just cannon fodder. We're just food. We're just fuel. We're just ants on the planet. We're of no significance or interest to them other than we're a slave labor force. Even then, I don't know. So we're just something in the food chain.
I remember there used to be, it used to be The Twilight Zone and Outer Limits. I used to watch those as a kid. But there was also these magazines that had similar sort of stories. And one of the stories was this guy going around talking to people and seeing how they responded to him. And they got on already okay. And at the end of the actual story, he was there with his mask off. He was an alien saying, it's okay, they don't realize we're here. So that's the kind of story, which is a bit like the X-Files-y type thing, where Mulder's trying to go out and discover, are there really aliens here?
Oh, they're out there.
How long have they actually been here?
No, but we're back to the same thing. We are the alien. We're the alien on the planet. Actually, if you think back to War of the Worlds and how they were beat in the Tom Cruise one, and maybe in the one before, it was actually at the microscopic level. We were saved by the very thing that might actually be trying to kill us in a flu pandemic at the moment. It's the microscopic something is the alien in the room and is the most lethal on the planet, and actually will be there after we're gone, and that's what a couple of these catastrophe headings are. Is it a manufactured one? Is it a naturally occurring one? Or is it actually, that's what the real alien is going to look like coming off the back of a meteor from somewhere else?
Well, I think the big issue here is that most human beings panic about the fact that it's going to be the end of the world, and literally every other year there's going to be a problem that brings about the end of humanity. But we've been here for at least 300,000 years, because that's when they reckon that the first Eve was running around Africa.
Oh, no, we don't know this. No, what we have is they're saying this is the 6th extinction level event, potentially the next one. And the 5 meteor strikes that went before that, they can show, global impacts or craters, or actually it may not even be a crater, it might actually be a mountain. When you actually have a meteor hit, it goes and buries itself underground. And before, they were always looking for craters, and actually what they were meant to be looking for was hills, depending on the angle of impact. But the dinosaurs went out with the dinosaurs. That was possibly one meteor impact. They've identified multiple ones from space that would have been of a significant similar size. They've counted them up based on drilling, probably up in the Antarctic or wherever it is, and said this happens at least 5 times based on what they're viewing. And so we could have been seeded and reseeded 5 or 6 times. Our planet might go back at that amount of time. But if we believe in one extinction level event of meteor, then we have to follow the maths and go the other 5 had the same effect.
So it's time that we took a SpaceX spacecraft to Mars to hopefully survive against the meteors hitting Earth.
Well, maybe they're going to hit there on the way.
Yeah.
No, this is interesting. I was watching a program last week, and was talking about this sun flare, and the sun flare is overdue. And this sun flare, if it happened, would knock out all electronics on the planet, including the internet and electricity and everything else that goes with it. And if we do survive long enough for the cooling stations on nuclear reactors not to go off and kill us that way and have a nuclear winter, what we will be at the most is 2 years without electricity, and society would have already broken down. And
no, they're saying 10 years without electricity.
That's 2 years if we were actually able to work and stay together to put it back, and we hadn't turned into the zombie apocalypse, tried to go kill each other in the meantime. It's a case of that's what a civilized society working to get it back again. So the meteor strike, the sun's flare is an interesting one because it's going to happen. It already has happened, but there was no electrics in the past. There were back in 1910 or around that time. This happened.
Well, apparently it happened a few years ago. But what happened was that if you imagine there's the sun, the Earth was traveling around, and this big flare went out, but we just happened to be here, and it went that way, and we just missed it. But had we been there where we had just come from, it would have done the damage that we're actually now talking about.
Sun flares. Now, I watched another program which got me very, very panicked. But because I just go there, I just want to panic and worry about the fact the end of the world as we know it. But the end of the world as we know it in this particular program was they were talking about white dwarf white dwarfs, which is our sun is on the journey to becoming, but maybe in a couple of billion years or 10 billion years. I'm not too sure of the particular amount of billion we need to be talking. But the sun will turn into a white dwarf, and what this other white dwarf was doing was had become a planet killer. It was eating up the planets within its own system, and that's what the future of our system is. But again, could be 5-10 billion years time. I was getting very, very worried that this is going to happen to me. I might not be here in 100 years or 50 years, never mind 10 billion years. Then I said, the program then went on to say, don't worry, don't panic, it'll be all right, because you won't be here for that to happen, because long before that happens, the sun will actually have grown in size to consume. It'll actually have boiled the waters off of our planet into 5 billion years in before it goes supernova, or turns into a white dwarf. And I'm going, so halfway to that timeline, there'll be no life on this planet anyway, because the sun would have boiled the waters and boiled the ocean. So I felt relieved then not to worry about the dwarf, and I'm still worried about surviving the next 5 billion years instead.
Well, I remember back in school, we were always told about Nostradamus, and apparently the year 1999 would be an exciting year, because that's when the third Antichrist would turn up, and he'd reign for 1,000 years, according to Nostradamus, and it'd be around about July time. And of course, that didn't quite happen. But at that point, in July of 1999, we were all panicking about the Y2K and whether or not all the computers were suddenly switched off.
Planes will drop out of the sky.
Planes will drop. Well, the Chinese basically sent all their scientists up in these planes, so they were flying over at the time of the millennium, so that if those planes did stop, they would already be in there and they'd get their comeuppance. But I remember coming along and going onto my computer and kind of going, hang on, let's just take the clock itself and switch it to December the 31st, 1999, 10 o'clock at night, or even 5 to 12, and see what happens. And run it for 5 minutes, and of course the character.
Well, the weird thing is, this is all about IT consultants making money. That's what Y2K was
that's
about.
What it was, yeah.
It was about the big budget,
that was the apocalypse.
The big bang. Well, now again, we have other apocalypse out there. Solar flare is one we can bank on. It's statistically going to happen. The sun will also burn itself out, and the planet's gone. But that won't happen for 5 billion years.
Well, here's the issue there, because if they reckon the recession is going to hit, like they're talking about, the banks might not be there to bank on when those events actually occur.
Oh, we won't worry about that. We're back to ones and zeros, and AI is going to, so let's work backwards from the most likely scenario of global catastrophe. So, sun will sort of explode at some stage, or go supernova, or white dwarf, wherever the hell it is. So we have a guaranteed end date of 5 to 10 billion years from now. Now, before that, if that's happening, halfway to that happening, the sun will boil the waters off this planet. So another guaranteed date. Statistically, we know of 6 or 5 extinction events that have already happened, predominantly with big meteors, happened in the last couple of 100,000 years, or back to the last couple of million years. But we reckon the last couple of 100,000 years, because we have these floods, we had the melting of the ice caps. We're now we're lucky to see the next 10,000 years without getting a solar flare that will knock out electricity and on the planet and put us back to the Stone Age. The meteors, well, if we get hit with one, and then NASA won't be able to shoot a rocket into space to then put the meteor off its path and stop that ETI event, because it won't be able to see it, because there'll be no internet, there'll be no electricity, and there'll be back to analog in the best of times. So if there's a meteor on the way, and we'll have no protection because of the solar flare. So that's okay. We're already in the middle of the flu pandemic. That could be manufactured, or it could just be the biology doing its own thing. But between a manufactured one and a biological event, if we don't kill ourselves first, we won't be able to protect ourselves. So that's happening. We're in the middle of it. Don't worry, so I'm looking more forward to the ET version and AI. So I'm hoping actually it's AI ET, in the sense of it's alien tech that's coming to do it. We're going for the double hit, and they're going to inject us with a bit of biology, and we go for the triptych.
And that's where the nanotechnology comes into play, because finally we've gone from the massive, great big macro to the micro cosmic part of the whole process, where all these little alien robots that are sneezing all over the place because they've just caught the flu from the Earth people, but because they're mechanical, they can just spit out different bits and pieces, and they carry on trying to replicate themselves while they're sneezing and coughing, and then having to go and dash to the loo to wash their hands through.
And they'll have to queue at Lidl for the Andrex the triple wipe. It's just
absolutely.
They're not going to be happy campers at all.
And the only way that they can actually escape is if they form a little Labrador puppy to run around and chase off down to the pub, maybe if it's open, because of the virus.
Now the question is, I think the volcanoes. We've got about 20 volcanoes on the planet. They're all of a similar size to Yellowstone or Jelly Park. I don't know what Yellowstone Park or what is it? I keep on mixing up Yogi Bear. Park. I don't know which. Jellystone Park or
Jellystone Park.
Right, but that's so. In other words, we've got calderas up the yin yang out there as another potential to basically send us with tsunamis, to blackening out the sun and throwing us back to a bit of a nuclear winter going on, and also rise. If that happens, the temperatures will rise and the sea levels will rise, and so we're all, anywhere you look out there, it's volcano. If you want to look down, if you want to look up, it's a meteor. If you want to look a little bit further, it's the nearest star. If you want to look beyond the stars, there's a couple of aliens on the way. If you want to look at home, it's ourselves with a little bit of nuclear something going on with AI as the major threat to basically sort of turn the on switch off on us. On ourselves. So the only one that's not really in there, which is the film-esque one, which is a little bit of a further reach in the scheme of things, is the zombie apocalypse.
Well, the zombies, I was thinking about the zombies earlier on, is that the way that you encourage people to go out and shoot and kill and all that kind of stuff is if you vilify or dehumanize the enemy. And that's where the zombie actually comes from, because it's non-human anymore. It is dead, so it's okay if you kill it because you're not really killing it. It's already dead kind of thing. So you don't have to take on all the guilt of actually shooting the zombie and just have the fun of shooting the zombie, which is really what it's all about. But most of those are mainly coming from game ideas. Now, the biggest problem that could be the apocalyptic idea or the panic that we may have within ourselves is to discover that we're really not real, but that we're ourselves just an artificial piece of intelligence.
We are the Sims.
Reality thing.
We're the figment of some other alien's imagination. No, we're a game. But I mean, there must be some boring bloody game if there's a fair few million players out there like Ready Player One, all controlling the likes of us. We're probably those little robots. We're the AI in the system. We're the AI. That's the gas thing. That's it. We're the AI, and we're going off on our patterns of our own. But they're playing the bigger global game, because what's going on is the four horsemen of the apocalypse of pestilence and zombies and kingdoms. So, I'm not too sure the names out there, but it's like the kingdoms game. So you build your kingdoms, you have your continents, you set them at war, and you have your economies going up and down. So there's a global game being played by aliens elsewhere, and we're the bots. We're the AI bots running around on the planet, affecting the gameplay to a certain level, because we can vote and we can affect it.
Now, that sounds really, really sophisticated. I actually do think, personally, that it's Homer Simpson sitting at the nuclear power plant, twiddling his thumbs, playing on his mobile phone, all these virtual reality games, that we're actually being controlled by Homer Simpson. There's a thought.
Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't think that. I can't see a two-dimensional animation type character playing a 3-4-dimensional game, with basically like with the original Atari, one joystick and one button to basically control what effectively is 7 billion people on the planet moving in seemingly random patterns, but there probably is logic to the patterns. So no, I don't go there. I'm not happy with it. You need to raise your game.
No, I think what it is that the fifth dimension is where we are actually looking, and then the fourth dimension, then there's the third dimension. Then it logically goes to the two. We always think that the 2-dimension is actually not as smart as us because we're in 3D and 4D. But in reality, it's probably the 1D and possibly the 0D that are actually controlling us, because they're more intelligent, because we actually don't think that they're significant enough to be able to control us.
No, but I'm trying to think about back to the apocalypses and go. I'm a warrior at the best of times, and here we are trying to go on a transformational journey of change. And if you start thinking about these, bad enough the chatterbox in there and all the worries I could possibly have, and now you've given me a list of 10 global catastrophe type events, all of which are of different levels. Okay, zombie might be low on the list there, but the other 9 are all have great high probability, statistical calculation capability. Most of them have already happened before, from the Spanish flus to like the loss of Atlantis and the melting of the ice caps to meteors hitting and dinosaurs disappearing and going, and even the alien ones. I mean, we've lots of proof of potential aliens as left, right, and centre. So I'm going, I just want to get the next 20 years and enjoy eating my cornflakes and spend some time with the kids and maybe get a couple of quid and go on another holiday abroad, and God knows when that's going to happen again. And okay, will I go out next week, buy myself a gun, start digging a sort of trench, start stacking up on Andrex toilet paper, and then hopefully get some antibiotics and antiviral drugs stored as well, and take a couple of classes in marksmanship? Or what are you going to do to help and prevent? Are we going to become these doomsdays people? What are they called in America now? The not doomsmongers, but doomsday planners or type of thing.
Well, I've forgotten what their name is now, because it's not they're not doomsday. They're protectionist. Are they not protectionist? I can't remember.
Don't worry, we know they're people. They're preppers. Doomsday preppers. That's a program.
Preppers, there you go.
That's a program.
2 days preppers.
Are you a doomsday prepper? Are you going to be a doomsday prepper? Are you going to roll the dice?
I don't think so. No, I think my wife was saying that the best place to be if there's a nuclear war going to happen is to be directly at ground zero, because
you won't know.
You won't have to suffer from all the radiation that goes on after.
Well, you're signed up to you want to be dead before you start, and you won't even know it. As opposed to if there's a nuclear winter and you might get 2 more years on living on tins of beans and whatever else, you're going, do you want the extra year? And it might be it's inside. Well, it's probably no differences at the moment.
I think we have to get back to what we've been discussing before, which is really that we don't need to worry about the future, especially if it's 10 million years ahead or 10 billion years ahead. We don't need to worry about the past, where we know that a lot of things. Well, we need to use the past as a kind of reference point, but mainly what we need to do is think about what's going to happen now. And most of the things that I've discovered through life, never as bad as you thought they were going to be. Our imagination creates more and more fears and puts us into panic, and we start to imagine the apocalypse is about to happen.
And now we're back to go, what are we in control of? We're not in control of the sun burning out. We're not in control of a supernova. We're not in control of a meteor. NASA might think it can shoot one out like they've got some sort of prep for possibly shooting one out, or deflecting it, or might split it in 2 and cause double the problem, or send Bruce Willis or whoever is into space and sort it afterwards. But what it is we personally, unless we go off and get a job on NASA, have no control. What's his name now in SpaceX might have a little bit more control, but in general, we've got control of what's at the bottom of the road. We've got control of what we can do in the now. And don't worry about, as you said, it's back to be realistic. Don't worry about what you can't control. Be aware of it. If there's something you can do about it, maybe be aware enough to think about it, to do what you can do, but get back into the now and go, what's realistic, what's controllable, what can you do something about? And in the absence of that type of rubbish, enjoy the now again. We're back to, what are you going to do this week? That's
the other thing is, if most people put things off and thinking that, that's way off into the distance, I don't need to worry about it. We are all going to reach a certain point where tomorrow is the last day for us individually. And if it could be the last day for me, but it might not be for Garvin. That's another thing. But what you then have to start to think is, if we have a limited amount of time, how do we best use that time that we have available so that we can feel as though we've had an enriched life? And that becomes because we can control those things. We don't need to worry and be anxious about things that we can't control. And even on the smaller things where we feel as though we're not in control of stuff at work, then we shouldn't let that bother us either. We should just realize that we have certain things we can do, and there are certain things out of our control. And if we can make the most of our lives, that's going to be the best plan that we can do.
Now, one thing has come to mind there, and I think it's a couple of lyrics from a song, and it's what it says is, "It's the end of the world as we know it, and I feel fine." And that's me gone. Hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe and click on the bell for notifications.